Serving it up to you live on the Buffalo Rumblings Vidcast Network. I'm Bruce Nolan. That's Nate Geary. And this is Food for Thought, a show combining two of your three favorite F words. That's right, food and football. The third one is fire. And I'll tell you why, because Nate's got a little something he wants to tell us before we get started on this whole thing. But let's just go ahead and do all the logistics that we have to do before Nate tells us about his lovely fire experience that he recently bequeathed upon the world.
Wow,
and
we've got vocab today, baby.
Twitter.com. I brought all the words today. Literally, I have all the words. All the words. As a reminder, today's show and every show are brought to you by Genesee Brewing Company. As you can see,
that's product placement.
Mr. Geary has the pineapple Kolsch that I still have not had yet. But as a reminder that, he's taking a sip just to mock me. Since 1878, Genesee has poured generations of brewing knowledge into each pint, can, and bottle of their beer. They make no sacrifices when it comes to their beer, brewing each with the highest quality ingredients for a consistently great drinking experience. Look for Genesee Beer, Genesee Light, Cream Ale, and their specialty line with beers like Pineapple Kolsch and Oktoberfest. Genesee Brewery, Rochester, New York. A reminder, hit all of the buttons.
All of them.
All the engagement buttons. Like, subscribe, rate, review. Telling a friend is kind of like pressing the button if it's something that you find to be fun. We've got people.
It's like old school button pressing.
It's old school button. It's the way the buttons were pressed in ye old times.
Yes.
Ye olden times. We have two people in the comments section with us who have already decided that they're going to chime in. Karen says, happy training camp weekend, Bills Mafia. Happy to you as well, Karen. And Dawn says, hey, guys. Hey,
up,
you
Dawn?
guys. Hey, Dawn. So, Nate, last week we were talking about you getting a smoker.
Yes.
And today you have a report card. You have a report for your smoker. Would you like to tell us how smoking went? And the reason we're going to talk about smoking is because it goes absolutely beautifully in with our topic tonight, which is camping.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like to smoke while they camp. Nate didn't go camping, but he did go smoking. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. So I was nervous. I was going to push it till tomorrow, but I decided my girlfriend wanted to make it for tonight. She's going to be camping. Speaking of camping, tomorrow. So we decided to make it tonight, right around 1 o'clock, actually around noon. Pulled it out of the fridge. I had it defrosting in the fridge for a couple of days. Threw it in some warm water. Really tried to bleed out some of the salt. It's corned beef. It's been cured in salt. Like, it needed a little bit of refreshing. So pulled it out. While I had it soaking, I went to the co-op, grabbed some fresh ground coriander, grabbed some fresh black pepper, threw some raw sugar on there, a little bit of onion powder, a little bit of garlic powder, threw it on there, threw it in the smoker. Luckily, I was at the station this afternoon, so I was on air from 3 to 6:30. And luckily, my girlfriend was here, so, she had to babysit a little bit while I was gone. We did have a situation where it's the first time smoking. Something was going to go wrong. It didn't feed the pellets in. It kind of like fell in on top of each other, and then a lot of it stayed on the side, and it didn't feed into the auger. So we actually started losing temperature very quickly. Luckily, she went out to check it. We saw that we had been down 100 to 165. So immediately we had to prime that bad boy, get more pellets in, raise that temperature back up. We got it up to like 350, and then we brought it back down to 250. So thank the Lord that, my girlfriend and her witty, she came down to make sure that I gave her credit. So she's on the staircase, just making sure that I'm giving her the proper credit, which I appreciated. I think, you probably realize the same thing, Bruce, is when we take credit for the things that our significant others do, they hear it and they're very vindictive about it, and they'll later bring it up in a situation like in a public setting or with friends and family, just to really make you wear it. So she was an integral part of this. So that's the story. I'm sticking to it. It came out. She cut it up. I was on another podcast. It's been a busy day for me. I was working, then I went to the station, then I did a podcast before here, and now here I am again. So in the midst of all this, I got to eat what was an unbelievable smoked Reuben sandwich, and it was. I'm going to say that I've now got the taste for smoking, and I'm going to be probably diving headfirst into that over the next couple of weeks here. I'm thinking pork belly burnt ends is the next project. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I'm good with it. It sounds good. I'll make sure I pop by for that one.
Yeah.
As a reminder, you can make sure that you get a piece of Food for Thought and Genesee Brewing Company history. If we get a super chat that is $10 or more, Nate will see to it that you get a pint glass from Genesee Brewing Company. All you got to do is make sure that you're following at Genesee Brewery on Twitter, and you DM Nate Geary Sports at Nate Geary Sports, proof of the super chat and the Genesee follow with your address, and he will see to it that you get it. Scott in the comment section says, "Hey guys, thank you both for making sure I got my glass." Nate, was Scott the guy who we sent it and...
It turned out that like 3 people got lost in the sauce. So luckily they're behind me. I boxed her up today, got some packing tape. Though they will be going out tomorrow
Awesome.
when I head out to the golf course. So for those folks that have been waiting on one, I apologize. My move and a lot of the other stuff kind of just got lost in the sauce. But everyone that reached out to make sure that their names were on the list. I had a list going and they weren't crossed out. So all of them cross-referenced. Everyone was good people about it. They didn't try to put one past me. So I appreciate everybody that reached out.
Fantastic. Chris is in the comment section, says, "Go Bills. I'm always for it." Richard Rush is here. What's up, everybody? Today, we are going to talk about camping. I don't know why. I don't know what could be happening.
Bruce and I are not campers, though. I do want to point that out. And Bruce, we've never talked about this, but I know that you're not a camper based on knowing you.
And the fact of the matter is, some people know you well enough to know your likes and dislikes before they actually come up. Nate is 100% correct.
Yep.
I hate camping. Now, I hate camping because I have tried very hard to see to it that my home is an efficient place where I can maintain my routine. Why on earth you would ever want to get away from the thing that you spent so much time trying to get in place is beyond me. And Nate is pointing currently at a cat who I'm pretty sure is in the fireplace.
Yeah, I don't know what my cat is. She's our runt kitty. She loves, there's a fireplace down here and in the living room, loves the fireplace.
Well, we're not going to cook the cat for
camping
food. But we are going to talk about camping foods. Mm-hmm. Specifically because the Buffalo Bills, this is the last time you and I are going to talk, Nate, until the Buffalo Bills officially open training camp with everybody. And so we are going to do kind of a camp primer. We already did our roster rooms and all that stuff earlier, but we're going to do a camp primer. We're going to kick it off with camping foods. And I would like to outline for you what I believe camping food to be. When I imagine camping food, because I went camping a lot when I was younger. I have never been camping as an adult because
really,
once I can voluntarily decide to go camping, I choose
then
not
you
to.
won't. Yep.
But my family, when I was younger, we had a pop-up camper and we used to take it and go camping. And we would go to Lake Raystown in Pennsylvania, and we'd go to other places around Pennsylvania when I was younger, as you mentioned. And as I mentioned before, I was born West Philadelphia. I am the first prince of Bill's Mafia. Mm-hmm. And when I think of camping food, I think of food specifically that aren't hurt, foods that are not hurt by being undercooked. And I'll give you an example of this. Red meat, hot dogs, s'mores, and fish, and vegetables. These are what I believe camping foods to be. Foods that if you put them over a fire and they don't quite get cooked all the way through the way they're supposed to, there's no harm, no foul. The worst possible camping food is chicken.
Yes.
The worst possible camping food. It is the most finicky. It is the absolute finickiest of all foods because it goes from not done, not done, not done, not done, not, oh, it's overcooked. Now.
Very quickly.
And when you're very dry. And when you're dealing with a scenario where you're cooking over an open flame, because of course we absolutely have to get the camping experience.
That's right.
Then you lose. It's like the opposite of sous vide. The reason why I hate camping is because I love sous vide. I love the precision. I love the margin for error. And yet, camping alleviates all of those things from me. It takes away all of those things that I love. It
takes away control.
It takes away control. I don't want to be without control. And mind you, I've been without air conditioning for 2 weeks. Today, they came and installed a brand new air conditioner in my house, and it's not working, Nate.
Man, it's
not working. So I'm still melting. Not quite as bad as I used to be, but we're still not entirely sure that it's going to get to where I'm supposed to be. Why would I voluntarily choose this by going camping? I do not understand camping at all. Right. We has evolved as a civilization so that we didn't have to go camping anymore. And then we choose to devolve. That's what camping is. It's voluntary devolution. And I'm completely out on it. But if I'm thinking about camping food, I am thinking specifically about foods that aren't hurt significantly by being undercooked.
Yeah.
Nate, what do you think?
So I think of one particular item, and obviously everyone's just going to go with s'mores, and I'm not that kind of guy. But I did want to kind of place a little backdrop story here. So I myself used to do a lot of camping as a kid with my younger sister, my younger full sister, and my dad. And my dad's best friend Adrian and his son. We used to do a lot of Lake George. We would do 1 to 2 camping trips a year, and then I think we had one camping experience where everything got soaking wet. We just got like one of those dosing rains where like it was wet, like you felt wet inside of yourself. Like it was just so grossly wet and humid and disgusting that we left the tents. And that would have been like 2004, maybe. Didn't go camping again as a kid after that. For whatever reason, like that was like some kind of scarring experience for my dad. And maybe something else happened that I didn't know about, but whatever. We never went camping again. That was until my girlfriend and I started dating. We did one of her best friend got married last year. We did a camp out, bought a tent, did a little camp out. And I got to say, it wasn't the worst. We did get absolutely poured on, as you might guess. And that night was terrible because there was about this much water inside the tent. Luckily, we were on a raised air mattress. Once that dried out the next night was about 45 degrees overnight. So it went from being 80 and 95% relative humidity one night to 46 and literally freezing cold the next night. So that's the thing about the great outdoors is you have no control, as you mentioned, which you guys like you and I, there's a level of control we require. The first place that when I go camping that I really start to think about and have anxiety about, my sleeping quarters. I'm very, 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 you talking about air conditioning, my room at all times is at 64 degrees. If it's 2 degrees, if it's 65, 66 degrees, I know it. Like I can't sleep. If it's 67, 68, God forbid it's 70 degrees. I won't sleep a lick because I need my comforter. And in order for me to have my comforter on and curled up and cocooned up, I need it to be like cold enough where I don't sweat at all. I'm not warm at all. So I'm a very particular sleeper. So for me, camping's kind of a no-go. But what I'll say is the campfire situation, I do really love. And, one of the things I remember as a kid around the campfire was the little spider dogs, right? Like you'd cut up the hot dog, you'd put it on the stick and you'd cook it, and then it would open up and look like a spider, right? It's spider dog. I mean,
we call those octopi dogs.
Octopi dogs.
Octo dogs.
Octo dogs. The thing that I really appreciate is the little sandwich cast iron square. You know what I'm talking about, right?
I do. The griddle press, right?
Griddle press, yeah. So when I think of campfire food, I'm really thinking about the griddle press. And my dad used to get the canned apple pie filling for a piece of Wonder Bread, canned apple pie filling, piece of Wonder Bread, squeeze, bang, bang. Yeah, that was better than any apple pie I've ever had. So it's just bread and apple pie filling. Not even like good apple pie filling, like the cheap 99-cent can of apple pie filling. So that was really good for me. The thing that sort of changed my world, though, was when I had that in the griddle, a peanut butter and jelly. Changed the game, folks. Changed the game. So I am a little bit too bougie to go camping, but I'm never not good enough to have some s'mores next to a campfire, next to a lake somewhere where I'm going to leave the campfire when it goes out and I've maybe had a few too many beverages and I'm going to go sleep in the air-conditioned room inside the cabin. Yeah.
Bougie camping.
It's not even really glamping as much as it's just bougie camping. It's called bamping.
Yeah. So instead of a BAMF, you're a BAMP.
Right.
Correct. That makes sense. I get it completely. Going to the comments, Uptown Bill says, camping is ambiguous. I feel like Bruce could be a hardcore primitive backpacker on the DL. It's the best way to not interact with people. Oh, he's on to me. Okay. We're just going to go ahead and leave that one. So Scott says, we go camping. James Cook grill yak. Nate, Nate is something we're going to talk about later, but we're going to get into Nate and I's differing opinions on James Cook and the role that we envision for him moving forward. JR says baked beans for him. Yeah, again, a great food. You baked beans, you can't really undercook baked beans. They're really already cooked. You can eat them.
They are cooked.
It doesn't matter. So it's the same way. Exactly. I'm 100%. Marinade chicken is fine for the first day camping, cut thinner, wrapped in foil, and you have more flexibility to cook longer with the marinade.
Yeah, if you butterfly them, you're good to go.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a lot of prep work.
Yeah, like you got to prep the day before. You're marinating it. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So, okay. On that note,
yes.
Now that we've talked about camping foods, and across the interwebs, you have seen people who are going to be going to Bill's camp talk about the food that you should get when you're in Rochester.
Yep.
As a reminder, before we get started, let's just refresh everybody where they feel they stand on garbage plates. Nate, the camp. The camp is in Rochester, New York, at St. John Fisher University, because they changed it from St. John Fisher College.
Yep.
Other people just call it Fisher there. But Rochester is known for the garbage plate. Nate, I don't think we've talked about this. Where are you on garbage plates?
Elite. They're as good as it gets. And I have it pretty particularly, right? I go mac salad, home fries, but I really prefer the squared 3D home fries, if you know what I'm talking about. I think that's really a very important aspect to this whole conversation. I don't want tater tots. I don't want the bigger round, like the square potato is the most important part of this. So mac salad, square potato, burgers, not cheeseburgers, but 2 burgers, lots of mustard, lots of ketchup, superb amount of onion, shake up, masterpiece. Well, of course, don't forget the Texas hot sauce or Rochester hot sauce, whatever you want to call it. So good.
So, I am all the way out on garbage plates.
Yeah, you will. I think that checks out for you, to be honest.
Yes. And it's not because I don't like my food touching. It's really not. That's not it. And I'm all in on lots of different smorgasbord kind of foods. I'm just all the way out on it. Number one, I'm not a huge raw onion guy, so that hurts.
Oh.
I love cooked onions. You can throw griddled cooked onions on almost any savory food, and I will gladly eat them at that point. I mean, put them on a hot dog, put them on burgers, put them on sandwiches. I love grilled onions, but raw onions, raw red or raw white onions, I'm all the way out on them. I mean, I'll eat them, but I don't never prefer them. I'll never voluntarily choose them. The other thing is, I don't really like straight yellow mustard.
Oh, well, that's right. You don't like the vinegary aspect.
I don't like the vinegar. So yeah. I'm good with honey mustard, Dijon mustard, spicy brown mustard. I'm good with all that stuff. So 2 main components I'm all the way out on. In addition to this, I struggle significantly with the mac salad alongside like the hot dogs. I can't get.
What about burger?
I haven't had a burger one yet, but I'll try one. But there's enough in it aside from the mustard and the onion are already good. I actually thought, to be honest, I have thought about talking to Mrs. Nolan and seeing if we could try to do like a modified version of a garbage plate here at home and do it with honey mustard or like a spicy brown and do it with grilled sauteed onions instead of raw ones and see if I could like concoct a hybrid version to make it work.
Listen, I don't think to me, and I know people from Rochester will push back on this, I don't think there is a baseline rule for what your garbage plate has to consist of. I'm not a believer that beans belong in it, though. I see, here's the funny thing, and you know that I'm not a mayo guy, but
yes,
the mac salad, if done properly, I can really overlook the mayo. Same with, and my girlfriend will, when she does I don't think she's ever actually done mac salad for me anyways, but she's done a lot of potato salad, and she'll do mostly substitute it with sour cream, so that's the prevailing flavor and it's not the mayo in it. But mac salad, and to me the mustard, ketchup, onion, and then the burger aspect of it, but it's all about the meat hot sauce, right? Like, to me, I think that's kind of the thing that has to be the prevailing flavor, and then the mustard, ketchup, onion is kind of like the icing on top. I do think that what is your take on mac salad?
I'm fine with mac salad. I actually like mac salad, potato salad, pasta salad, chicken salad, tuna salad. Like, I'm in on all the salads. I'm completely fine with all of them.
Okay.
My wife and I made a honey mustard jalapeno potato salad not too long ago. That was just legendary. It was so good. I have a picture on my Instagram of it, and it was fantastic.
It sounds very
she
good.
makes a BLT pasta salad that's fantastic.
Ooh.
I mean, I am all the way in on a lot of pasta, so I have no problem with mac salad.
So is it really coming down to just the mixture and also not really liking mustard? And like, you feel like you need those things for it to be a garbage plate that is widely accepted?
You're putting two very, very strong flavors, the vinegar of the mustard and the raw white onions, right? You're putting two very strong flavors on there.
But
right?
So here's the thing. On a hot dog, my family, particularly my dad, is very anti-ketchup on a hot dog. I don't mind ketchup on a hot dog, mustard, ketchup, onion, but it's going to be a very small streak of ketchup, big streak of mustard, tons of raw white onion. So for me, that mustard white onion flavor combination and the profile that it brings, and it elevates, especially like a Salen's like all pork dog or on a hamburger, like that to me is kind of that's what I'm there for. You know what I mean?
Right.
This is a mustard thing, Bruce, I think is what it is.
It's a mustard thing. It's a white onion thing. And also, I don't really like straight ketchup that much either. It's fine. It's okay. But like the hot dog you just described, I would get it plain. I would just take it plain. I'd rather have it plain than mustard, ketchup, nothing.
But just generally, like, you don't put anything on your hot dog when you have it.
No. I mean, sometimes I'll have it with chili. Sometimes I'll have it with cheese, barbecue sauce, bacon.
But your standard hot dog has nothing on it.
My standard hot dog is completely plain. Yep. And so the ketchup and the mustard and the white onions, it's not for me.
Like, what is you're at a ball game.
Yeah.
Are you getting a roller dog at a ball game?
Usually not. I usually get a burger.
Else? You get a burger. Okay.
Yeah.
So I've got a weird take about this, but roller dogs taste like bologna. They don't taste like a hot dog. Like, it's Oscar Mayer in a hot dog form and it's rolling on a thing, right? I mean, that's when I'm at a Bills game. Last time I was at a Bills game and I'd get a hot dog, or if I'm at a ballpark and I'm getting a hot dog, I will eat the hot dog with nothing on it. Because
that's fair.
I don't put mustard, ketchup. Well, I mean, I do put mustard on a bologna sandwich, but I don't put mustard, ketchup, onion on a bologna sandwich. I usually just put a little bit of mustard, white bread, and eat the bologna sandwich. It's also been close to at least a decade since the last time I ate a bologna sandwich, but I'll eat that plain without anything on it. I just think, standard speaking, for your hot dog preference to be fully naked, I think is a really interesting concept to me.
Yeah, completely naked. Now, again, if I'm at home and I have the opportunity to dress it up, and I can do like cheese and barbecue sauce and bacon, like, I'm all in on it. Again, so you put those grilled onions on there, put some grilled onions. I'm all the way in on that too. But I don't really love. I mean, ketchup's fine. Ketchup's whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Straight yellow mustard. But if you gave me like a spicy brown mustard, I try it on a dog for sure.
Okay.
So
it's just you just don't like the standard classic yellow mustard. That's just not you.
Because it doesn't do a good enough job of hiding the really, really, really heavy vinegar.
Fair.
For me,
I mean,
it's
vinegar and mustard seed. I mean, that's
and I can't get behind it. So we're gonna move on to
we could talk all day about dogs.
We could talk all day about dogs, and everyone loves. I mean, I love dogs. Dogs are better than people, but
that's right.
We're talking about hot dogs. Now, I want to circle back, Nate, to something that I just talked about specifically in regards to James Cook.
Okay,
it's one of the things my eyes are on during training camp. That I think your eyes are on during training camp, but I think we're expecting different results. And so one of the things that I mentioned on Twitter not too long ago was that the things that I'm most looking at when it comes to the Buffalo Bills training camp, and that's what we're going to circle down to now. We're going to look at Cook usage, Elam readiness, Matt Araiza, Spencer Brown, Gregory Rousseau. Those are the things that I'm looking at most, specifically the first two, Cook usage and Elam readiness, because they're the rookies, right? Araiza matters for sure, but I think you and I have very different opinions.
Yes, we do.
On
I know we
what
do.
Cook could be coming out this year. You mentioned on Twitter not too long ago that the quote is, it would not surprise you if James Cook had an Arian Foster-like training camp. Now, you are not comparing him to Arian Foster. You're not saying he's going to be that player. But Arian Foster famously had a training camp where he just all of a sudden just became the dude out of nowhere. He was just, oh my gosh, he's the dude. And
he was the dude.
You said that you would not be surprised if James Cook had that kind of camp and all of a sudden he's the first string running back. Now, I would be surprised by that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to outline why I'm expecting something from James Cook, and then you can tell me why you might be thinking something else.
Okay.
So if you're the Buffalo Bills and you sign, essentially, you agree to terms with J.D. McKissick.
Yep.
For 2 years, $7 million, and say that it's a scenario where you're wanting someone who can be a weapon out of the backfield. That's what you want. Then you end up not having that situation come through. You end up signing Duke Johnson, who is known for exactly that thing, to be a weapon out of the backfield, not a between the tackles runner, not a 3-down back, a 3rd-down back. Then you trade down in the draft multiple times and draft James Cook. That doesn't scream for me that you were looking for a dude. So let me ask you this, Nate. Do you think they took him with that intention? Or you look at everything I outlined and you think, I understand what you're saying, Bruce. I just think he's that good. And I think he's gonna be. I know what they intended him to be. I think it's pretty clear when you outline it what you think they intended him to be. But I just think he's that good. Is that your take on it?
So I think it's a little bit of that. I also want to point out that it might be a little bit of the fact that I'm not and haven't been overly impressed with the other guys in the group. And I know that maybe is underselling what Devin Singletary did towards the end of last year. I did think that he played much better football than he did earlier on in the season. He finally sort of took that job he took the reins of the job, but also he was the de facto guy because the other guys were not playing well. And Zach Moss did not look good, or really he just didn't take the job. So I think because of that there's a couple of things here. Is that James Cook is the type of player that I very much have wanted this Bills offense to have. That 4.4, sub 4.4 speed, outside runner. Don't make any qualms about it. This is not a guy that's going to pound the rock 7, 10, 15 times between the tackles every game. But I do think, and I think my more subtle take on this whole thing, Bruce, is I do believe he is a complementary piece. But I do believe at some point this season, maybe it's later on. I think yesterday on the Rock Pile Report, I made a bet with Drew that by week 15, he would be seeing more touches than Devin Singletary. Touches than Devin Singletary. Total touches. And I do think like he'll end up kind of being the guy that first play of the game, he's out next to Josh Allen. It'll be 28. So I'm excited to see him. That's where my eyes are on this camp because, in a funny way, most of the people that go to the Buffalo Bills training camp, what are you guys watching for? Right? You're watching Josh Allen. You're watching the receivers. You can watch Kyrie Elam. You can watch Dawson Knox. You can watch the running backs. If James Cook, if we're talking about a left guard, what are you going to take away from training camp? Like, here's the great thing about running back is you're going to know very quickly whether or not he belongs on that field. Because with the ball in his hand, you're going to see why he was drafted. To see why Cody Ford, to see why Ryan Bates, it's just hard as a common football fan, as a novice football fan, to understand why you should be excited about what a left guard is doing during training camp should excite you. You're going to know very early on in this training camp whether or not James Cook excites you. And I think that's probably the draw of him, but it's the draw of the position. And it's the draw of being able to determine, did they get this thing right? And I keep going back to the fact, Bruce, and I know I said this to you last time when I was talking about, why I like Cook so much. Bills took him in the second round. It's the highest pick ever dedicated by this regime to a running back. They've spent a lot of assets on it. They've signed free agents, always to kind of like the league minimum, used third round picks. Using a second round pick and not expecting that second round pick to beat out your 2 third round picks eventually, I think would be a waste of a pick.
Do you think that Cook's a waste of the pick if he's only ever J.D. McKissick?
Yes.
Do you think that if they were going to take a running back who is not someone who profiles immediately as that between the tackles 3-down runner, do you think they should have taken somebody different? Do you think that was a Rashad White moment?
If Rashad White's the guy, sure. But here's the thing. I don't believe that just because he's a really good pass catcher means that he can't be Antonio Gibson. It doesn't mean he can't. I mean, who's a former wide receiver, by the way, right? Like, I just don't think we have a big enough sample size to know for sure that he's not a guy that can carry the load and be an every down running back in the NFL. If those really even exist anymore, those are hard to find, man. There is very, very few teams with a true every down running back, and I'm not sure that'll be him. And I don't think he needs to be what we're talking about, which is still kind of like he's a well-rounded, does everything sort of back. I think he can be. I think he will be that player.
Are you concerned about sub 200-pound frame when it comes to holding up?
No. He played in the SEC.
Do you look to? Yeah, but he didn't get a lot of carries in the SEC.
No, he didn't.
Do you look to certain running backs as like, well, this guy can do it, so he can do it?
What's Christian McCaffrey?
Christian McCaffrey. Oh, give me a second. I'll actually tell you in a second here. Hold on. Christian McCaffrey weighs 205 pounds.
205.
So he's 10 pounds heavier.
It's not the biggest.
And also, he's been banged up a lot.
Yes, recently, but he played his first 4 years. I mean, he played every game.
Yes.
What is there a comparable sized back in your that's popping up in the top of
the
your mind?
One that always pops up for me, and I please, before everyone jumps on my back, I am not saying that James Cook is this person. I'm saying they share almost identical physical measurements, and it's Jamal Charles, who was roughly the same size.
Yeah.
And also extremely fast. But I've gone on record as saying this before, and I understand that this is probably blasphemous. I think Jamal Charles is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah,
that's how good I think Jamal Charles is.
I agree with you. I think I agree with you.
Still to this day, Jamal Charles leads NFL history when it goes down to yards per carry. NFL history. James Brown, Walter Payton. No, it's Jamal Charles for players who have enough carries to qualify. I'm not saying James Cook is Jamal Charles. Please, I'm going to say it again. I'm not saying James Cook is Jamal Charles. But Jamal Charles is such a crazy outlier when it comes to stuff that he's one of the only sub 200-pound backs that you can look at and go, yeah, he became like the dude.
Yes.
Like the dude. And everybody else is, Scott asks, how is James Cook in pass pro? Not great, Bob.
No.
If he's out on the field in third downs, he's running a route. Now, the good news is at some point it gets to be a spot where if you're really, really good at running routes, even if they expect you to, it's still okay. Because if you get a scenario where that person has to block, you might not be utilizing him properly. Now, you want him to be able to block if at all possible. But if you look at what the Bills did against the Steelers week 1, they ran a lot of 10 personnel, and they really got their backs out into routes a lot.
Yep.
And one of the things I've been meditating on a little bit this offseason. I have been meditating on it. I have been sitting cross-legged on the ground. There has been Enya music in the background. There's been incense burning. I have had my palms toward the ceiling, and I have found myself in a place of gratitude. And I have said namaste, and I have laid over into Shavasana, and I have said, I keep getting the vibe that the Bills want to be more like they were week 1 in 2021. They want to get 5 people out into the route. That's what they want.
But they want to do it in a way that's more disguising than just driving out 5 wides.
Right. They want to get 5 people out in the route.
Yeah.
And this is part of that. Getting James Cook is part of that. So, no, I don't think he's a good blocker. If he's good enough as a receiver, it doesn't matter as much. Now, obviously, being able to block is better than not being able to block, right? More traits give you options, right? And more traits give you more options. But Nate and I have different views, which is interesting because I'm the one who drafted James Cook in Dynasty.
Yep, you are.
But I drafted him in Dynasty specifically because getting a rookie running back who is going to catch passes in a high-powered offense for at least the next 4 years, that's pretty valuable. Like, even if he's RB24, Liam Johnson says the Tau of Bruce. Exactly right. That is the Tau of Bruce.
It is.
I'm going to use that towel to wash off. So aside from the James Cook thing, Nate, the other thing I'm really looking at that I want to ask you about, I want to talk a little bit about, is I'm really looking at Kaiir Elam's readiness.
Yeah.
And I know he played in the SEC. And one of the things that they were talking a little bit about in minicamp is that because you can't really get contact, you really have to work on your technique because you can't just go up there and mug somebody at minicamp. That's just not an option. And it sounds to me like that's something we should be looking at with Kaiir Elam. Is don't look at him when he's in press. Look at him when he's an off man. Look at him when he's in the zone. That's what we should be looking at. Is that what you're looking at with Kaiir Elam when it comes to this year?
We had this conversation with Joe Marino today on the afternoon show. And, Joe being the high-level speaker that he is, especially just about the game of football, like I kind of asked him this question. And I said, if you had a pick in the NFL, you're drafting a corner, would you want off the bus a guy who can off the bus be your best press man corner in a team and a defense and a scheme that runs lots of zone? Or would you rather have that guy who walks off the bus and is just riddled with technique and understanding and nuance and just a comfortability level in zone that you have to teach him the press game, but he's got the zone game down packed? And I think, I don't want to speak for him, but it felt like he was saying like what the Bills did, going out and getting a guy that can play press man. He was talking to Ben Fennell of CBS, whose, I guess, like main job is to talk into Charles Davis's ear during games to like feed him research and so on and so forth on the Bills broadcast. He did a bunch of Bills games last year, and he sort of commented, Joe, about how he was surprised how much man coverage, especially on third down, the Bills ran last year, even when Tre'Davious White came out of the lineup. This is a defense, Bruce, that I do believe wants to run more man coverage. So knowing that Kaiir Elam's strength coming off the bus is that man coverage, that was not Levi Wallace. Levi Wallace was an off-ball corner. He was the kind of guy that you can leave in his zone. You know he's going to be responsible. He's going to have good technique, good instincts. I feel like I'm good with Kaiir Elam learning those instincts, learning those techniques of playing in the Sean McDermott zone defense on the run. He has made a living turning mediocre corners
into elite level corners. Josh Norman, James Bradbury, right? The list goes on. He's turned really, I think, middle average cornerback play into elite level quarterback play. Has gotten many guys paid in this league. I'll take my chances. I think there's not going to be as much of a ramping up period as you think. I also think other than week 1, where Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson are on the field, those first 7 weeks, okay. I mean, yeah, they're going to play the Dolphins in there, and that'll be a test, but it's not like they're playing Devontae Adams and Justin Jefferson and, the leagues every week, and they're going down the gauntlet of wide receivers in the league. I think Kyer Elam is uniquely set up to play the position the way that I think Sean McDermott, Leslie Frazier want to play more of. So I think that trends really well in his direction, in my opinion, anyways.
I don't know if we're going to get right away walking in the door Kyer Elam playing at a high level. I don't think you're going to get. I'll give you a great example. Patrick Surtain walked in the door for the Denver Broncos and was already one of the better cornerbacks in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you who didn't follow me at all last year, I would literally watch Patrick Surtain film at Alabama to feel better about humans and the world that we live in. And I would know that there truly is beauty left in the world. And that when you see things on the news and the violence and the hate, and you could just go to your little space and you could watch Patrick Surtain play the cornerback position, and you could feel better knowing that there was beauty in the world and that there was wonderful things and things were going to get better because Patrick Surtain was around. That's the way I felt about Patrick Surtain. And he did not disappoint. He was already one of the better corners in the NFL because he was so technically refined. I don't think we're going to see that from Kyer Elam right away. But like Nate said, if you give Sean McDermott a below average athlete, he can turn him into reasonable. What happens when you give him a good athlete? What can he turn him into? So it's something to keep an eye on moving forward. So Nate, what are you keeping an eye on that I haven't talked about so far?
You said something there, and hold on. Come on.
This is riveting content right here. What's happening right now?
So it made me think of a Departed quote. When
so
you
you're
said
searching
that.
for it. Do you want me to keep talking and stall while you look for it?
The problem is I don't remember what the quote is. I mean, I do. It's on the tip of my tongue. I just can't think. It's not coming to the top of my mind. We can move on. Sorry. What did you ask me to say? Because I was deep into thought about that quote.
I said, is there something you're keeping your eye on that we have not already talked about? Because I have kind of pitched to you some things that I'm keeping my eye on, but you haven't gotten a chance to really volunteer things that you're keeping your eye on that we could comment on.
Spencer Brown. And I think we're taking a little for granted that this was a player that took over the starting job from Darrell Williams, who had come off a really good season, got paid, really had a resurgence type season in 2020 with the Bills. And I thought Spencer Brown outplayed him. And it was very evident early on that he was just this athletic specimen. And that the injury in COVID, I think put him in a position where he got burned by some good edge plate rushers. There's no doubt about it. But I'm looking for him to walk into training camp 5-10 pounds heavier this year, but has that explosiveness back, has that technique, and is a little bit more confident in his game. I think in terms of ceiling, Spencer Brown could be one of the best right tackles in football. He has the athletic ability. I think he has the instinct. It's the technique that I think if he can figure out, and Aaron, there might not be a better offensive line coach than Aaron Kromer to maximize the ceiling, to get to the ceiling of Spencer Brown. I'm really excited about his camp. I think this is a big year for Spencer Brown because this is an offensive line that desperately needs another dog, another dude. And I'd love for it to be Spencer Brown on the other side of Deion Dawkins.
I said this when I was on a show with Anthony Prohaska from Cover One, and it didn't ruffle any feathers. And the reason it didn't ruffle any feathers is because y'all know I'm right. You can make a significant argument that Spencer Brown is the most athletic tackle to ever play in the game of football ever.
Yep.
That's not hyperbole.
No.
Literally If you track his RAS, he's number one out of over 1,100 tackles that have been graded since 1984. And do you think the athletes were better or worse in 1983 than they are now? Spencer Brown may be the most athletic tackle who has ever existed. And Nate just had a cat jump on him. And so when you give a coach like Aaron Kromer an athlete like him, I think you have an opportunity there for something special. The other thing I think we don't talk about enough is that Spencer Brown was not good last year. Spencer Brown was not good last year. He
flashed.
He flashed. But if you asked me about his play as a whole last year, I would never say the word good. Ever. And you shouldn't either. But that doesn't mean the flashes weren't there, and that doesn't mean the potential isn't there. We do this thing all the time where we talk about offensive linemen like somehow they're safe. And if you draft an offensive line, you just go, oh, well, you're going to draft this player and you're going to plug him in and he's going to be a 10-year starter. That narrative needs to die. That is not a thing. It's like we expect development from every other position in the world except for tackle or guard. You just plug him in and go, oh, remember all the hand-wringing about Andrew Thomas after his first year, Nate? Guess what? He ended up really well. He played really well last year.
Yep.
Everyone was like, oh, my gosh, Andrew Thomas. Oh, we should have taken Mekhi Becton. How did that work out for the Jets? Shouldn't have taken Mekhi Becton, right? Sure. Oh, we should have taken Tristan Wirfs. Okay, well, maybe you should have taken Tristan.
Yeah,
Wirfs.
he's
really good. But,
he's really good.
I mean, depending on how you feel about Jedrick Wills, you could make a significant argument that Andrew Thomas is the second best tackle from that class.
Yeah.
At this point. So we do this thing where we say, oh, well, you're going to draft this tackle offensive line player. And then if they're not good immediately, we go, they're bust.
They're bad. Yep.
As if somehow every other position is allowed to develp except for offensive line.
Yep.
So Spencer Brown wasn't good, and that's okay. I did a show when Josh Allen was a rookie, and the name of the show was Josh Allen Was Bad, and That's Okay. That was literally the name of the show. Because I kept saying, okay, he played bad. Okay. It's a data point. That's fine. Even an entire year not playing well is still okay. Now, an entire year of not playing well where there's no flashes, okay, now we got to talk about this.
Right.
Because the development is just you getting the flashes more consistently. That's what development is. Because we talked about this on Twitter earlier, and I think it applies to this situation. Talent describes the breadth of what you are capable of. People who are more talented are capable of more things. Skill determines how often you consistently hit the good boundaries of your talent. So it doesn't matter how skillful I am. I could be the most skilled football thrower in the entire world, Nate. It will not matter. I cannot outthrow Josh Allen. Doesn't matter. Because his talent far surpasses mine. Even if my skill was as good as it could possibly be, I don't have the arm strength. I can't throw it 80 yards on a line. Can't do it. So that is the scenario we're talking about when it comes to Spencer Brown. The talent is enormous. It's just a matter of building the skill level. And that's what Aaron Kromer's for. So I absolutely applaud you for bringing up Spencer Brown.
Thank you.
And we are going to move on to training camp food simile because we are way behind. We went down the rabbit hole when it comes to camping foods and training camp and James Cook and everything else. But for the food simile, it is, as you would expect, training camp makes me feel like.
I got a good one.
Take it away.
Makes me feel like the first day of school. And if you remember the first day of school, like your mom, and so I know that all parents are different and had different schedules. My mom used to work later in the morning. So when I was in high school, my last couple of years, like I'm leaving and my mom's still in bed because she used to, like get to bed late, have to wake up a little bit later for her work day. So, but first day of school, you know what I was getting? Eggs, pancakes, toast, hash browns, you name it. Like it was a smorgasbord. Everyone was excited. Even your parents, your mom, your dad, right? Like first day of school, even first week, because first week is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, right? You should never expect that what you're going to eat for breakfast on the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of the first week of school is what the rest of the school year is going to look like. So I think for me, like it reminds me of that first meal that you get, like your parents sending you off to school, especially later on in my later years. Like I used to get the smorgasbord. I used to get like chocolate chip pancakes, home fries, little ham steak that's been put in the cast iron. Like just really pull out the whole diner stops. And that's kind of like what training camp is, the nostalgia, especially of being back at St. John Fisher. So training camp and having it back really makes me feel like it's the first breakfast meal of that first week of school. It'll probably never be as good as it is right now.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. For me, the food simile of being in training camp made me feel like I'm stuck in a house with seasonal food people, and they finally decided it's time to crack out a crock pot. See, now, there was a time when my wife and I actually temporarily, we were waiting to move into our house. We were temporarily living with my wife's brother and his wife. And my wife's brother is a seasonal food person. Certain things can only be eaten at certain times of the year. And I didn't really realize that these people existed until I sat down and had a chat with him.
Mm-hmm.
And there were specific times when he said, okay, now we can start making crockpot meals. It's now appropriate to make crockpot meals.
Is there why crock pot? Is it because like
slow cookers? You can only do slow cookers when it's cool outside. Can't do slow cookers when it's hot outside. Listen,
I don't.
The face you're making is the face I made, because that's ridiculous. Because you should eat what you want, when you want, how you want. Because life is short, and we're all just staring into the abyss, hoping there's enough food to keep us okay.
Here's one of the reasons why. Like, I was thinking, okay, well, maybe one of the reasons he didn't like crockpot food in the middle of summer is because you have the crock pot on and it makes the house warm or something. But I'm like, no, it doesn't.
What kind of
really
crock pot makes the house warm?
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not like, to me, when you turn the oven on, we had the oven on tonight. My girlfriend made muffins. By the way, black raspberry muffins upstairs.
I'm in. I'll see you in a little bit.
Yeah, see you in a minute. The crock pot is a way less infringing piece of hardware that you're going to use to make food. And frankly, you could set it up in the morning, come back from work, and have it ready to go. Like, set it, forget it. That's a bad take by you said your brother-in-law?
My brother-in-law, yeah.
Mrs. Nolan's brother.
Mrs. Nolan's brother. And
we disagree.
Yeah. And this is what it feels like. What it feels like is I'm trapped in a house with those people, and they finally decided it's time to let me use a crock pot. I finally got there. It's crock pot. It's time. After a long period of waiting that is really unnecessary. I should not have to wait this long. All of a sudden, they decide, you know what? Yeah, it is cool enough. I will have that crock pot meal.
Mm-hmm.
You are allowed to make chili now, because you can't make chili in July, apparently. You can only make it in October. So that's the way
that's wrong.
Training camp makes me feel. It makes me feel like I finally bursted through, you know?
Yeah.
I busted out. I got it. We're there. I feel frustrated. I feel like I'm releasing that tension in my food journey.
In your crock pot.
In my crock pot.
Yeah. So
we are going to finish it up with winners and losers from this week in the NFL. And we've had a decent amount of NFL news this week. So we should have some stuff to pick from. And I'm going to go first. We're going to start with losers.
Okay.
Loser this week. Any team who does not have a cool alternate uniform.
Yeah.
You are missing the boat, man. Everybody's in on it. And so many of them are awesome. So many of these alternate uniforms are absolutely awesome. And if you are a team who is missing out, maybe you have a beloved alternate uniform that your team and your fans have been begging for, and you won't give it to them, you're the loser this week. Nate?
Loser this week, Baltimore Ravens. They watched the Arizona Cardinals just absolutely bring up the Brinks truck for Kyler Murray, re-signing 5-year, $1 billion contract. And here are the Ravens, who appear to not even be able to get Lamar Jackson to the negotiating table. The Ravens are in trouble, Bruce. because I was listening this morning, Extra Point Show, Sal Capaccio was talking about this, and I actually disagree with Sal. The question was like, when is it time to panic or get really concerned if you're the Ravens? And he basically said after this season, they get to the end of the season and there's no contract extension, that's when they should worry. I think they should be worried right now. If he won't even get to the table, that's a bad sign if you're the Ravens. That's a franchise with stability, a franchise that has won a Super Bowl with this coaching staff and has one of the best front offices and stable front offices in the league. If they can't get Lamar Jackson to have a conversation about a contract extension, they're in real trouble. I don't need any waiting. They should be panicking right now.
Okay, you're going to love this. You're going to absolutely love this. My winner for the week,
It's Lamar Jackson, isn't it?
was NFL GMs who are negotiating with a quarterback, including the Ravens.
They're your biggest winner?
Any NFL GM who's negotiating with a quarterback is a winner. And here's the reason why. Murray's contract was not fully guaranteed. That means Watson did not establish a new precedent for quarterback contracts, which means now the Ravens and the Chargers and the Bengals and everyone else do not have to offer
I disagree.
a 5-year, $230 million contract that's fully guaranteed. They can offer it with $160 million in guaranteed or $161 in guaranteed and not have to do what the Browns did. Because the big concern around the owners' meetings
is there's a new precedent.
Dude, Cleveland, what have you done?
Yeah.
You've just broken the entire market. All we needed from an ownership standpoint was for somebody to sign their quarterback to a deal that was 5 years, $230 million, and it wasn't fully guaranteed. And then everyone else will be able to look at it and go, no, Cleveland's the outlier. They're just dumb. Right? And now Cleveland is the outlier. So now if you're Baltimore, you can look at Lamar and not go the Watson contract. You can go, we'll give you $1 more than the Murray contract instead. And so that's a win for me because a new precedent was not established. And that matters because it has trickle effects through the entire NFL.
No playoff wins, one playoff appearance, and significant drops in play over the second halves of the last two seasons.
Yes.
If Justin Herbert wins a playoff game this year, he takes them to the AFC Championship game. If Joe Burrow gets the Bengals back to the AFC Championship game. If Lamar Jackson does nothing, Lamar Jackson is going to ask for a fully guaranteed contract. So
and I think you have leverage not to give it to him now.
What's the leverage?
The leverage is
just that Kyler Murray didn't sign one?
Yeah, the leverage is that Kyler Murray is the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL, and it's not fully guaranteed. The Watson deal is an outlier. And if not, we'll tag you for 2 years.
I'm not so sure. I'm not willing to say just because the first contract after Deshaun Watson wasn't fully guaranteed. I'm not convinced that Kyler Murray's on that level.
Pro Football Talk actually tweeted an hour ago, opinion piece saying the Ravens should offer Lamar Jackson the Kyler Murray deal with an extra $100,000 per year in new money right now. This is a guy who Florio is notoriously pro player, right? And anti-owner in these discussions. And he's the one saying, yeah, Lamar, do it.
The problem is the Lamar situation is unlike any other.
Because he's negotiating his own deal.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing. By the way, I just wanted to point out, there's a football score happening on a baseball game right now. It's 27-3.
27-3. It's
the top of the sixth.
Red Sox. Yeah.
Yeah, Toronto. I had to say that. I mean, we're really.
What is the biggest blowout in baseball history?
It's got to be close to this.
I don't think I've ever seen 30 runs before. But it's funny that everyone is so ready for football that even Major League Baseball is like, all right.
Oh baby, Nate, we're getting close.
We're getting so close.
The biggest blowout game in Major League history was August 22nd, 2007, when the Texas Rangers beat the Baltimore Orioles 30-3.
Wow, we are super.
We're close.
You don't want to be on the wrong side of history.
Yeah. There. By the way, Bruce, in this game, there was an inside the park grand slam.
Oh, see, now that's awesome. Now, I'm not a baseball guy.
I'm not a huge baseball guy either. I used to be when the Royals were good, but not anymore. I gotta get.
I'm not a baseball guy. Okay, your winner.
I gotta get to my winner. Lamar Jackson.
Well, look at that. Look at us go.
We're such jerks. And it's, here's the funny thing is we don't even really plan for this type of thing. Like,
no, we just works this well.
I wish that I was lying when I told people, or like when we started that One Food for Thought show and you said 3 F's and you said food, football, and I said Frankfurters. And it was literally what you were going to say. We don't plan for that kind of stuff. It just happens. It's organic. It's why this show is so great. It's so niche.
Lamar Jackson. Winner.
That's it.
That's it. Just Lamar Jackson.
I guess I kind of explained it already to you.
Because he's going to get all the money.
He's going to get all the money.
All the dollars.
Not by the Ravens, though. He's going to get traded.
Whoa. You're just going to leave us like that? Lamar Jackson's going to get traded. No way. No way.
Yeah.
The Ravens have repeatedly said that Lamar's the dude. Whenever he's ready, we're going to extend him. No way. No way.
Want to know why?
I'm ready.
He wants to play in Miami.
He wants to play in Miami.
Yep.
They're going to trade him to the Dolphins.
The Dolphins have the assets to do it. Mark my words. He'll be a Miami Dolphin next year.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's ballsy. I appreciate that.
Uh-huh.
I appreciate that about you, Nate.
Uh-huh.
Just swinging. Just shoot, man. Shoot.
What am I supposed to do on this podcast? Be subtle? No,
of course not.
No. So
Bold
Lamar
flavors.
Lamar Jackson's going to tell the Baltimore Ravens he doesn't intend to re-sign with them long term. So go ahead, you can franchise tag me. I'm not going to sign the tag. And then what I want you to do is give a call to the Miami Dolphins because that's my destination that I want to go play at. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and they're going to trade like 3 or 4 first-round picks for him, and maybe a roster player of some kind, and that'll be that. And the Ravens will have all of the picks to move up in next year's draft to go get one of the top quarterbacks, C.J. Stroud or the next Lamar Jackson in what's his name, Young from Alabama. Bryce Young. I feel very good about that take. Like that could happen.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, we did it. We talked about the things. All the things, quite frankly. So many things.
Yeah.
We had bold flavors. We had subtle, nuanced flavors. We had cold, hard facts and fresh, hot takes. I hope you enjoyed the show this evening. I hope you had a good Friday evening or Saturday morning with us. And most importantly, I hope you didn't leave hungry.